So the jinn were created to worship God also. It means they had free will. They could choose between doing so or not. And they had to have access to information, to guidance, to be able to choose whether to follow God or not to follow God. So, jinns received the message. And in fact, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he was coming back from Taif, after being rejected by the people of Taif, stoned and chased out of the town, stoned so much that blood fell and clogged up the straps of his shoes, sandals that he was walking in. Allah had him meet a company, a group from the jinn. They sat with him, he taught them, and they took that message back to the rest of the jinn of the area that they came from. And this is mentioned in a chapter of the Quran called Surah al-Jinn. This is addressed, this whole issue of receiving that message. They heard the Quran. So the Quran is recited amongst them. So the issue is quite clear that prophets were sent to both human beings and the jinn. Now, whether prophets were sent from among the jinn to the jinn or not, we don't know. It's true. In general, Allah says that, whenever He sends a prophet, He sends them speaking the language of the people. So from that, some scholars concluded that, hey, the language of the jinn, they must have their own languages, etc. So somebody must have been sent among the jinn to them. Well, Allah knows. Speculation. A brief note, which has come to be one of my lectures, is khushu' in salah wajib? Is khushu' in salah wajib? Khushu' means focus, concentration, being aware, piety, consciousness of God, all of that. Is that a compulsory component of prayer? Yes, it is a compulsory component of prayer if one wants reward. The goal of prayer is to be rewarded. It's a form of worshiping God, doing something which is pleasing to God, and we do so expecting a reward from God. So if we expect a reward, then khushu' is wajib. Otherwise, without khushu', without this state of consciousness, humility before God, then the prayer becomes a ritual, a blind ritual, and becomes what we may call precautionary prayer. What do I mean by precautionary prayer? It means somebody is really an arrogant individual, doesn't really care to worship God, etc. But he, just in case there really is a God and He really was required, then he better do something. Right? For those actually who they have doubts about God's existence inside their own hearts. But they will say, okay, I'm going to pray anyway, just do some prayers, because in case there is a God, when I die, I'll have something I can show for myself. So it's precautionary, just in case. Of course, that kind of worship is totally unacceptable to God. It's not based on belief. It's based on hope. Hope for good in case what we're doing or what we're believing is wrong. The next question which comes in, one also sent in from Sharjah, Brother Hassan writes in, Dear Dr. Phillips, from an Islamic perspective, can you explain the weeping Madonna and stigmata? Is this also from the jinn? There are also people who under hypnosis can speak different languages and describe places they have never been to. Is this from the jinn? Yes, it is from the jinn. The weeping Madonna, these are cases where you have statues or or pictures, paintings of Madonna, Mary, where tears appear to come from the eyes of the statue or from the eyes of the painting. In some cases, it's a hoax. There are people who are involved in trickery to produce it. But in some cases, there have been some genuine cases which are inexplicable. The solution for it, of course, when one understands the world of the jinn, then it is not something which is very strange or miraculous, but something which could happen any time. The jinn are able, that's the evil among the jinn, are able to possess objects, enter into objects, and cause things to happen. For example, in the case mentioned in the Quran of Prophet Moses, when he went to receive the Torah, left behind his brother Aaron and the people of Israel, who left them behind him. And that individual from amongst them, a Samedi, he gathered up their gold and took some what he claimed to be dust from the footprint of an angel and threw it in the mix. And from it he made a golden calf, and the people stood around the calf. They bowed before the calf when the calf lowed. When the calf said moo, this is when they bowed, because this is something they never experienced before. Calf made from gold speaking. This is what convinced them to bow. Now, how did that take place? This is obviously a case where the jinn have entered into this object and caused it to create a sound, sounding like a cow was mooing. This is the same case of Ganesh, the Hindu god, very popular amongst a number of Hindu worshippers. A couple of years back, 3 or so, 4 years back, in Dubai and in India, as well as in temples in England and elsewhere, those worshipping Ganesh found that Ganesh started to drink the milk that they were pouring on their idols. Part of their puja or rites of worship is to pour milk and put food and things like this around the idol, before the idol, etc. They found that when they were pouring milk on the idol, that it seemed to be going in the mouth. And so a number of people started to put the milk right by the mouth, and they found it was going into the mouth of the idol. The idol wasn't opening its mouth or anything, but it just seemed to be absorbed in. Now, some scientists try to say this was capillary action, the stone idols in India, this is what was happening. But, of course, the idols were not all of stone. This is not really the explanation of what was happening. What happened, in fact, was that some evil jinn had conspired and entered into the idols of the Ganesh worshippers around the world. And on the same day, same time, virtually, they all began to take in the milk, to remove it, to cause it to appear to disappear, and to appear to disappear inside of the idol, giving this impression that, for the Hindus, that their idol is true, that there is God, Ganesh. He is worth worshipping. He will bring you good luck, etc., etc. But actually, this was trickery. Just as the Madonna is trickery for the Christians who believe that it means confirmation for them that Jesus was God. But in fact, he wasn't. Jesus was not God, nor was he the Son of God, but he was a prophet of God. He worked miracles, as the prophets before him did miracles, by the permission of God. He didn't do them of himself, as clearly stated in the Quran. Whenever he did a miracle, he said, by God's permission. With that, dear viewers, we'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Light of Islam. You may call in your questions, if you have some calling questions, to me at 06-5-339-864. My office in Sharjah. You may call me there. Or call me at the Islamic Information Center, that is Discover Islam Center there in Karama, opposite Center. The number there is 04-396-2190. Otherwise, you may write me, as I mentioned before, at Sharjah Television, P.O. Box 111, Sharjah, UAE. Hope to hear from you, and we hope that the answers that you have given on this program have enlightened you, and we hope that they will continue to enlighten you over the next period. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.